For thousands of years, the feminine has been present as power, as wisdom, and as life itself. Yet, much of it has been hidden, distorted, or suppressed. And today, if you see, she's rising again, not as dominance, not as a revolt, but as a remembrance, as an embodiment, and as an authority. So, we are here today shooting this amazing episode for the Women's Day. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, but our primary context for this whole conversation is going to be about how ancient wisdom, ancient women, be it medicine women, be it oracle, be it seers, be it priestesses, be it grid workers or goddesses, whatever you want to call them. Okay, we see how they are rising, and the whole conversation today is going to be about different aspects of women. And our main agenda is to be uh, creating this conversation as a portal of remembrance for women. And I'm here accompanied by Alicia Naveen. I am Priya Mani, and we both are going to be having this conversation today. So, welcome, Alicia, and I hope you're doing well.
How are you doing?
Good, good, good.
Okay, so I'm so excited about this topic actually because I've seen most of the people talking about women empowerment and women day celebration in terms of very sloganic form. I don't know what is the right word for that,
Mhm.
but I feel like the way you have given context to as to what we are going to speak, it seems more of architectural, like how it is. Examining the women's empowerment through ages through architectural lens.
Yeah,
I feel like
because
that.
yes, that's exactly what it is. Okay, because um, when you listen to all the women empowerment conversation now, it's more on the lines of okay, like this is a thought process, or this is a feeling that I get. Like okay, women they are in this particular zone of being very suppressed or burdened with a lot of things. So let's say and do things to empower them, to make them feel that they are powerful, right? And also in some context much more better than men. But then the whole agenda of today's conversation is not differentiating or weighing the balance between men and women, to be very frank. Okay, it's to tell that women have always been powerful. It's just that over thousands and thousands of years, it is a very orchestrated way of putting her in a place wherein she is considered to be dangerous, she is considered to be emotional, she is considered to be not required other than for xyz reasons. So this conversation is just, that is why I said this is a remembrance. Let this be a conversation which is applicable for both men and women. Let this be a remembrance to let you all know that we have always been powerful.
Yeah.
And I want to start this conversation talking about matriarchy, patriarchy, and gynarchy. So Alicia, let's begin this conversation with this particular foundation, wherein we are talking about the differences between these and what they are not or what they are, so that we don't confuse words with who the people
Context. Yeah.
are, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with, let's say, patriarchal.
Hmm.
What do you like? What is your understanding of it?
I feel like patriarchy does not need much explanation as of now. We have been conditioned. We all are some way part of it or deconditioning it. Okay, so every system has been created around patriarchal approach and not identifying one gender over here, but
Mhm.
the it the systems has been created which are not in thriving support of one gender, that is female.
Yeah.
Okay. So, from a leadership perspective, from societal perspective, and even from spiritual power perspective, power holding perspective as well. So, when we talk about matriarchy, gynarchy, and patriarchy, these are not at all identical. When we dive into other two, I think, Priya, then it would be much more clear,
Mm.
right?
But for everybody who's listening, patriarchy is most on men
Yeah,
ruling
yeah,
or men governing, okay?
yeah,
Wherein most importance is given for a man to be a certain way, right? Now, we have seen this happening for thousands of years, and I'm sure all the men listening will be able to recognize that there's a lot of unwanted load put on your shoulders to be a certain way, and that is coming from the matriarchal, sorry, that's coming from the patriarchal society, that you need to be emotionally strong, or let's say you need to be the breadwinner of the family, or let's say you are here to protect the woman, right? Or you're here to protect everybody else other than yourself, which is what it literally translates to,
yeah,
which has put your nervous system on such a load that you are constantly striving to be the best version of yourself, irrespective of how you feel, where you are, what role you play. None of these matters. But then you are expected to be a certain way, which is very wrong, because no one is out there trying to understand who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, why you're behaving the way you're behaving. Because when there's so much of responsibility, that responsibility and everything to make that responsibility, or everything to fulfill that
yeah.
responsibility is the one that stands in the forefront than your own well-being. Okay, so this is a very simple way of explaining to you what patriarchal is. But then,
Yeah.
what we are more interested today is to talk about what gynarchy is and what matriarchy is, because there's a lot of debate and there's a lot of misunderstanding of these things. So, Alicia, I would love for you to talk about, let's say, gynarchy. I'm not very sure how many of you have heard of this terminology. I haven't had heard about this until very recently, but it's very interesting concept. So I would love Alicia to break us into this
Yeah.
topic of gynarchy.
I think I'll just draw down the comparison between both so that it is easier to understand. So basically, what most people perceive in the society, what matriarchy is, okay, they perceive it as gynarchy.
Mm,
Okay, what I mean by that is matriarchy literally is actually rule of mothers.
mm,
Okay, so it is historically we have seen even in Bharatiya regions as well. We have seen civilization societies where uh, females are dominant. Okay, so in the anthropology studies as well, we have seen this moving from ages to ages. But now it is less. Most of the property it was inherited by the matrilineal people, the elder women. They guided the communities. They, but without the authoritarian rule. Here's the difference,
mm,
okay? Which means matriarchy is structural, it is cultural, it is nurturer, okay? It is a children centric society, okay? How we are raising our upcoming generation. Gynarchy is more of authoritative, it is political, it is administrative, wherein uh, female is also very centric in gynarchy, but with authoritarian methods. Okay, so it describes who governs basically, but in matriarchy, it is a lineage based thing. When this word comes, lineage, it automatically flips the context of this social systems.
mm,
Okay, it
mm,
it is very much community nurturing, wherein everybody is given the way you have explained patriarchy. It is a complete opposite of it, wherein everybody is nurtured, not just children, everyone who is part of it, even the nature as well. So, even from religious perspective as well, uh, it is matriarchy is in accordance with the natural rhythms that we have.
Okay.
Very much, yeah.
So what I'm understanding is, and I was also looking up the dictionary meaning of gynarchy. Okay. So, what I'm understanding is, um, gynarchy is where, I'm just going to put more words into what you have said. Okay.
Mhm.
So, gynarchy is where there is female dominance and where there is male submission
Yeah,
in various social and interpersonal
yeah,
contexts, right?
yeah,
So in Gynarchy, men are supposed to uncomplainingly be submissive, irrespective of what the women has to say. But
yes,
that is not matriarchy, right? Matriarchy is more um, balance, is
yeah,
more guided leadership, right?
yeah,
It's a blueprint where, let's say, a woman is in alignment with her, or women are in alignment with their deepest intelligence, which creates a world that is more nourishing and hence more flourishing, and so on and so forth. So am I in the right space?
yeah, uh, exactly like that. Because in our society, this has been a myth, a very deep rooted conditioning that matriarchy is governance, is a society which is ruled by women in a way which is very mean to other people who are not female.
Uh,
Very,
so it comes across in such a way wherein, okay, women are ruling and hence men are supposed to listen, but that is not what matriarchy is, right?
it is not like that. It
Yeah,
is balance of the hierarchy.
yeah.
Okay. So it's more of a free flow of lived experiences
Mm,
through lineages. And leadership in matriarchy is very service based, Priya.
mm.
Okay, and it has a lot of cyclic awareness as well. It is missing in Gynarchy. It is very, again, I would say a counterpart of matriarchy, Gynarchy is.
Mm,
Okay,
mm.
just place the systems ruled by women in Gynarchy, and the cyclic awareness is missing in Gynarchy. Uh, Around seasons, cycles of people, fertility, rest, nervous system that you have pointed down in patriarchy, all is missing in gynarchy. Where it is nurturing in matriarchy.
Oh my God. Thank you. Fuck. I think. Thank you for saying that. Okay, I'll tell you why. Um, this is a remembrance. What I'm going to share now. Okay. So our society went from matriarchy to gynarchy to extreme gynarchy to patriarchy.
Yes.
If the people who are listening, if you can relate to this, please let us know, because this is fucking Genesis remembrance that's coming back. Okay. So this is the information that I'm getting. We were a very matriarchal society, and there were women who started to misuse that power, and hence we went into gynarchy. And then, obviously, when somebody is put into submission to an extent of suffocation, then they're not going to sit down and take it, irrespective of who they are. And hence, this became like a rebellion, and the entire society was pushed into being more patriarchal.
Yeah.
And now is the time, like now, the current times is a time when the finding of balance is coming back, and
Yeah.
hence it is going to go back into becoming matriarchal again. But this time it is going to be a very aware matriarchal space, because we are not going to be repeating the mistakes from before
Yeah,
again here.
yeah,
Fuck, that was mind blowing. Okay,
okay,
Alicia, does that make sense to you? Because
yeah,
while you were talking about the previous topic, this whole thing just came through. So,
yeah. It's very much like that. See, throughout the lineages as well, we have seen scriptures as well. Irrespective of that, if we talk about civilizations that has totally eloped, okay, it could be a Lemurian times, it could be Tiamat, it could be Atlantis as well. Okay, all these civilizations which were there, and they were very much uh, connected with the Dravidian grid. Okay, where you are living right now. So that is why we see decentralized leadership has prevailed for longer period of time in our South Asian societies, like especially in India. Okay, so there were councils, there were circles, there were elders, and there was a lot of consensus built in.
mm,
Okay? So it makes a lot of sense actually. You know what, Priya, I was a kid, and we used to get like so many newspapers in Punjabi at my home. And I think I was in fifth or sixth. I read what one short story in the newspaper. I still remember because it hit me so much at that point of time. It said that in one of the African tribals, when anybody commits any crime, even the heinous crime, it can be a murder as well. So instead of punishing that person to like giving death sentence or uh, going to the extremes, like we do have provision of punishing people in different ways in different civilizations, what they does is they would gather for that person, the whole village would gather for that person, nurture that person particularly for like 4 or 5 days, remind that person of his or her own qualities. So it was the way you send Genesis remembrance, like here's what they did. So they use sound, language, appreciation. So what was it? It was a very different method. We call it some kind of modality nowadays. Okay,
mm,
it could named as structural therapy, psychotherapy, counseling, breath work. So you see,
mm,
they took just 4 or 5 days to flip the whole internal being of the person.
mm,
That's how matriarchy works.
mm. Awesome, awesome.
Mm,
So this is a good place for us to continue, because now that we are clear of what matriarchy is, gynarchy is,
mm,
patriarchy is, I think across continents and cultures, like you said, like, so it could be priestesses, it could be shamans, it can be seers, it can be yoginis. They kept their wisdom alive, and they were the custodians of the unseen currents that guide societies and families and individuals. Today, their energy is returning. It is erupting through relationships,
yeah.
communities, and through leaderships. And with that, I think I want to move on to the blueprint of the matriarchal. What does it look like, Alicia? The reason why we are talking about the matriarchal blueprint, because it's multi-layered, right? Because at
It is.
the core of it, it is womb intelligence, which is the ability to perceive
Yeah.
life cycles, potential, like you mentioned earlier. And around it radiates, relational intelligence as well. It
Mm,
combines emotional authority and a sense of community through leadership.
mm.
So I want to hear your version of what this matriarchal blueprint looks like.
Okay. So I some of the pointers that I've mentioned, you have already mentioned, right? So
Mm,
it is a very life-centric governance. So whole of the concept is based on the sustainability of life.
mm,
Okay. And it is a total community centered living, where we share resources, we share our learnings. So
mm,
there is a lot of collective caregiving. So in here in Punjab, we have a saying.
mm.
It is like, to raise one kid, it takes a whole village.
That's
From where that?
yeah, that's
Mhm.
very that and that's very true, right? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how it has been. I've seen myself even in our villages as well. When I was a kid, like, people used to take care of us. They were like, okay, have you eaten? Like, very
Mm,
nurturing
mm,
environment in villages, okay?
mm,
Because villages, rural areas, they were not commercialized. Even in the patriarchal governance, they had residues of that matrilineal blueprint, okay?
mm,
Matriarchal blueprint.
mm,
So that is why you will find most of the females who are heading back to their ancestral places in this phase. Okay, that's their calling. So it is community centered living,
mm,
uh, and it has a very, like I shared with you, Priya, previously,
mm,
the justice models are very different in matriarchy.
mm,
They are very restorative in nature, wherein conflict resolution is approached in a very different manner, where you
mm,
repair the harm.
mm,
You, it is not focused on uh, diving deep into the cycle of punishing offenders. Okay, it doesn't mean that there is no lesson or understanding, but there are other ways as well,
mm,
because our society is not aware about the other ways. What could be the other ways? Matriarchy is a structure which holds those ways. And if you see, our there is in matriarchal society, there is no difference between our daily life routine and our sacred life routine. I
mm.
see people living their spiritual life. Okay, they have to be in a certain way. Their daily routine is like very different. Okay, it's not that. It is very much merged as one. So it's like a place where your rituals, your way of being, your spiritual innate lineage approach, and governance, all these things overlap. As you said, it has so many layers, no?
Mm,
It overlaps. So that
mm,
is why, like, what is scarce and rare and charged nowadays, what was our innate uh, knowing. For example, let us take Jyotish Vidya,
mm,
astrology, astronomy. It was innate part of our knowing. Everybody knew how the cycles move,
mm.
how to just be. There was, no need of creating it like some kind of Gupta Vidya.
So what I'm
So,
understanding from what you're saying is that it was not individual chapters of life or not individual aspects of life. It's like this whole ecosystem in itself, right? Wherein um first of all, there is no domination between men and women.
yeah,
uh
yeah,
Secondly, leadership was very well, leadership does not just come from who you are, but from the wisdom that you carry. Am I getting
yes,
that right? Okay.
yes,
I'm just deriving points from what you said. Okay. And th- the decisions were based on what is a priority for the community, maybe the ecosystem, maybe what
yeah,
was important for the future generations as well, right? And you also mentioned that punishments were not like punishments. That means Your power did not flow through because you had the authority of punishing somebody and making them feel so low and down about themselves, but then the power was very nurturing in nature, like the example that you gave about the African tribe who would, sit a person down and talk to them about all the core behaviors and who they were, rather than take them through a process where they are losing their confidence or their soul in itself, like how things happen now, right? Awesome. um you also mentioned about probably, so I think this also leads to conflict resolution in some case,
Yeah.
wherein there is more empathy in conflict resolution than and the restorative practices that you mentioned. So it could be empathy, it could be dialogue, it could be, embodied authority, and so on and so forth, rather than just a punishment to make a person feel a certain way for something that they have done. Awesome. Did I miss something?
Uh, just adding to what you said, basically in matriarchal society, execution of everything is a collaborative task. Okay, which means the clan mothers or the lineage mothers, they held the power, okay, to nominate. They had the authority to nominate even male chiefs as well. I'm using this language like the ancient language. Now the current structures that are taking place, will we can have a very diverse and vibrant terminology coming up for right now. So yeah, authority flowed through women, but execution of tasks, it was very much collaborative, likewise you said. And yes, guys, this is the patriarchal structure.
Mm, mm. Also, I want to add something from a masculine feminine dynamics. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I think earlier men learned leadership very differently.
Hmm.
Earlier, leadership for from a man's perception would be more of collaboration, protection, mentorship, right?
Hmm.
Where a man's energy was more complementary, not competitive in nature, where the strength is directed in the service of life and not domination of how women should be or how the entire society should be, right? And hence, the relationship between men and women was probably much more synergetic in nature, where both of them thrive.
Yes.
Like if you look at it now, it's very different. I think now is still better, but what has been going on for the last thousands of years are like very different, right?